As I mentioned, Dwane Roth is a former fourth-generation farmer from western Kansas. He's also a recipient, which I hadn't mentioned, of the prestigious Kansas Leopold Conservation Award. Having recently completed a successful succession plan, Dwane has transitioned the family farm to his nephews, ensuring the future of agriculture in the region. A staunch advocate for sustainable farming practices, Dwane understands that water availability and cutting-edge irrigation technology are pivotal for the success of irrigated crops. So here at the conference, Dwane's excited to be here. He looks forward to discussing the role of OpenET in advancing irrigation technology and supporting the agricultural community. And thank you again so much, Dwane, for making the trip.
Anticipation is always a heart race here. I'm Dwane Roth. I'm a fourth-generation farmer from western Kansas. My nephews, we did a succession plan, and it took a while to develop that. It took a while to finance it. We just completed it about a year ago. We're located in western Kansas, up next to the Colorado border. This is part of our farm. We farm some ground. We're mostly tenant farmers. We own some parcels of ground, but the majority of it we rent. And some of that ground we farm for the Garden City Company. As you can see, our Roth Family Farms is located right in the center of it. But what we also do we provide feed and forage to a Kansas dairy development. It's similar to a feed yard, the replacement heifers. They feed about 50,000 head at that local yard. And in the same geography, you can see this is our problem. We have a declining groundwater in western Kansas. And how we know that? So it's through the Kansas Geological Survey. All those red dots, those are irrigation wells. The blue crosses, those are index wells. Those are real-time, 365 days a year. They monitor the levels of the aquifer. As you can see, our farm is located right in the bullseye of it. So how do we come about lessening the decline? Well, as Matt might have told you, there's been some apprehension about technology, growers' adoption. I was one of those growers. The Garden City Company, our general manager, he's actually a ag econ, actually helped write some of the farm bills. He brought me in one day. He said, "Dwane, are you doing everything with technology?" My planter, I can have 5 seeds in the bottom of my planter at the end of the day. I can have just a gallon of water left in my sprayer at the end of the day. I said, "Yes, absolutely." He asked me 2 more times, "Are you doing everything with technology?" I said, "Obviously, I'm not getting the conversation. Can you tell me what you're looking for?" He goes, "The state of Kansas is starting some water technology farms. We'd like you to maybe place your farm as a water technology farm, showcase soil moisture probes." He goes, "They've got a soil moisture probe meeting 3 nights from now. I want you to go to it." I went to it, met with a couple of the sales reps. The first thing I told them was to shove that probe up there. I would never use it. It costs too much money. And I just think it's a bunch of baloney. Boy, did I eat them words, guys. Did I eat them words. I'm skipping ahead here, but we actually placed several soil moisture probes on our farm the next 2 or 3 years. And what it did, it gave me the ability that I wasn't able to see before on how to monitor my soil moisture for what's below in the ground. And as you can see, we can come back to this, but in my part of the Ogallala, again, it's very hyperlocal, we need a 10% reduction. What that would do would actually double the life of the Ogallala at that point in time. So in western Kansas as well, we value acre foot. How does it compare? Again, the beef industry, and I know these are a lot of words here, but actually when we provide our feed to the feed yard, it brings a value of $165,000 per acre foot. The dairy facility I told you about a little bit ago that we're located next to brings in about $93,000 per acre foot. Now, corn at this time, the value, what it does bring into Kansas is about $970. Sorry, Robin, I'm having a heck of a time here. Nope.
Here we go.
Robin, should I be hitting this? This one? Okay, that's the problem. Part of the problem, I wouldn't say problem, but one of the drivers is behind the reason we plant a high intense crop is, as this session is here today, is on federal crop insurance. 2022, we actually abandoned several circles, not several circles, but a few circles of corn. And part of the system we're in is not only with your creditors, your landlords, is that rate of return. It's like a savings account. What are you? We're going to make 3% over here. We're going to make 8% over here. Well, in 2022, our guarantee for federal crop for corn was $5.95. In this area where we're at in western Kansas, different times of the year, corn in western Kansas is usually valued about anywhere from 50 cents to $1.25 higher than Ohio. Corn moves south. We have a high concentration of feed yards in the panhandles. And the large part of that depletion, though, is from irrigated corn. The yards usually run out of corn probably about February, March. That's just a rough estimate. The rest of it is railed in or trucked in. But we're looking at, that's 95% of the water usage in western Kansas. As for my nephews and our family, will there be irrigated agriculture in western Kansas? Well, one approach we've been working on is collaborative. And, are we planting the right crop for the right soil? But then, when we go into our financial institution, one of the first things they ask us for is, do you have all your papers for renewal? And part of those are your crop insurance from what your guarantees are going to be for the next year. So we're going to have to look at maybe, can we do some type of incentives through conservation that actually benefit crop insurance? As again, here's that device I told for the salesman to shove up. I would never use again. We have these on a majority of our circles now. There's actually programs around the state, NRCS, that they'll pay for it. Now, I'll give you an example of generations. My brother won't apply for it, won't do the paperwork. My nephews, they'll be down at the NRCS office. They'll fill out paperwork all day to get these on their farm. On the picture to my left, you not only see the world's best farm dog in the world, but you also see where a soil moisture probe is located. As you can see, we try to no-till and strip-till all of our circles. But you can see that circle there, we actually had a hail incident. Then we had to pick corn really wet. We rutted it up, so we had to mechanically fix the field. But all this time, we're wondering, does this even need pre-irrigated? Can we save that inch up front? Can we save an inch on the back? That's exactly the ease of these probes can do. They can save you an inch up front. They can save you an inch behind. What this probe does, though, if you can imagine this room just completely dark and a strobe light blinking, it's probably one of the worst things on a pivot. It's a good thing and a bad thing. So when you wake up in the morning, we usually start at 4 or 5, go out and check pivots, or even when you start spraying, you might see 1 or 2 strobe lights on these pivots. Well, then the next day, there's hundreds of them. It's that visual that, okay, that guy knows something I don't, I better get my pivot on, So we all start pumping the water. Part of the thing for the soil moisture probe it took that out of my mind. The very first incident, again, with my soil moisture probe rep, one of the hottest days of the season, the corn was rolling up. I'm sorry, I got out of my sequence. Part of the other technology that we're bringing with the soil moisture probe is OpenET. So what we're working on with the Garden City Company, it's 16,000 irrigated acres. How can we use OpenET technology not only to benefit and make agronomic decisions, but also benefit that Kansas dairy development, that economic driver for that part of Kansas. How does that system going to look? How can we replicate something that already works? I don't know if everybody may have heard of this, but in northwest Kansas, we actually have the Sheridan 6. It's in Sheridan County. So if you can imagine that first slide I showed you that shows my farm, the depletion, they actually did a local enhanced management area. They get a 5-year allocation, 55 inches, about 11 inches per year. Some of those farms could still produce, they could still pump water. They could do 24 inches of water per year. But a goal, again, that Hoxie feed yard. So that Hoxie feed yard is located in the bullseye of that Sheridan County. If you look at the bottom slide, the producer reported economic data. This is through K-State Economics. Inside the Lima, the producer actually limited his water use. As you can see, has a cash flow of $375. Outside of that Lima, it's $360. So can this work? Can we build this Q stable? That's how we measure water in Kansas. Can we use this around feed yards, counties to do? And that is the collaborative approach we're working on as we speak today. One thing we do in Kansas, we have meters on every single well. So again, Dr. Sanderson here, he actually provided us a video years ago. Our problem right now in the United States is water and water depletion, but it's solvable. It's how you get groups together. He mentioned voluntary water conservation areas. So we actually volunteered, we reduced our water by 15%. What we did find out from doing that is that we set ourselves a goal. We actually hit that every year and actually exceeded that. Would other producers pick up on it? With water in Kansas and elsewhere, there's still a lot of higher wells, lower pumping wells, a lot of finger pointing. You really have to have some folks come in to facilitate on work as a community, as a group as well. My final thoughts is, again, I was really opposed to any of this. I never thought I could do it. I never thought this kind of technology would be out there, and it just took a little bit of open-mindedness. What I really like about OpenET is how it can better help you make agronomic decisions. And going back to 2022 again, we did abandon some circles through the Risk Management Agency, Federal Crop Insurance. We actually had to continue pumping for about 30 more days. So a year later, we went back, looked at the data, we looked at OpenET data. We actually met with RMA. They actually, stand counts, vegetation, is this crop going to be able to be maintained for the next 30 days? They actually said, if we would have had this, we could have granted you stop watering that crop. You can't keep it alive. On that one circle alone, it has saved almost 20 gallons of water just on that single circle. 20,000. So RMA is open to this. That's it.
Could you finish your story about the rolled up corn and the rep?
We got into a cussing match, and actually still my friend today. And he goes, you hard-headed, Robin told me to watch it. And so I am. And so that year, we actually used 10 inches of water less than all my neighbors. And again, we're fourth generation. We're related to everybody. Even if your last name's not Roth, Richmeyer, you're all related somehow in western Kansas. So my cousins actually provided me their data. We saved 10 inches of water each year compared to what their agronomist told them to keep irrigating. Keep that pivot on. It's a security blanket. We over-irrigate in wet years. Dry years, you're going to have to continue to pump. But on those 2 years, by getting in a fight with my advisor on the soil moisture probes, we saved, we gained about $6,800 per circle. We out-yielded our neighbors by 10 bushel the acre. And through Kansas Geological Survey, I said, okay, so we saved 10 inches of water. What if we just cut that in half? You know, because we know we're not gonna be able to do that every year. What if we just say 5 inches of water? We stabilize the Ogallala aquifer. But still, you know, does everybody have soil moisture probes? No. You know, does everybody got the most efficient pivot nozzle bodies, the way to deliver water, evaporation when the wind's blowing 50 miles per hour? No. That's why we're going to try to do more like the Sheridan 6, a group of folks who got together, community. You know what? Without this feed yard, this community goes away. So, and the water depends on it. They took their water from 18, 24 inches down to 11 and actually became more profitable. You know,
Thanks so much, Dwane. I'd love to hear the story of sort of evolution in and acceptance of these types of tools, and I really hope that OpenET represents a way to bring additional data to growers, and maybe a way that's really accessible and not costly as well, which I hope is an advantage for you and others there.